The witch could no longer be seen. However, Cannon felt like he could still hear that shrill, unpleasant laugh. How entertaining. How entertaining. Why is the human world so entertaining after such a long absence? Go insane with love. Go insane with gold. Those who do not go insane, those are not human. I see. Then the world of furniture is fitting indeed. Furniture is created to serve humans, and I toy and traumatize and tyrannize those humans to ease my 1,000 years of boredom. What a truly entertaining rock, paper, scissors situation, but I cannot control furniture. Ginzo, your enterprises are truly interesting. Furniture? Try and see if you can hunt me. Tonight, 2 seeds of love have been sown, including the one already sown. That makes 3.
Why did you leave me alone in this painful world? I detest you. You are yearned after this much, and yet make no attempt to answer. I would detest you for all eternity.
My lord, drinking any more will be damaging to your health.
Fuck you, it will.
Haven't you also been warned by Dr. Nanjo?
Be silent, Genji. You do not understand. You do not understand my grief and sadness. Even though I believe that as my oldest friend, at least you would understand my pain. Why is it so incomprehensible to you?
Oh, Beatrice!
Why did you leave me alone?
What the hell is with all that furniture stuff? What is all that crap? Oh, heart-rending Jessica-sama. Even though her crying voice I can hear from her room tells me of the situation, there's nothing I can do. This is all a tragedy due to people who are too young to see and getting too close, and the positions of their birth are too distant. She peeking. She's peeking it like, I can do nothing but understand the lady's feelings and walk away quietly with silent feet.
Ah, my eyes.
Right? What? Do you mean by that, George-san?
I mean what I said. I still haven't built up my castle. Once I have, I'll be able to think of myself as an adult for the first time. When that happens, I want to marry you.
That's,
But my heart won't let me do just that anymore. So I want to give you an engagement ring.
Engagement? You say? But I'm the furniture.
That's right. And furniture has to listen to what people say. God damn.
Nope, there's a reason why.
I am currently having a ring made that's worthy to be a gift for you.
Don't side-eye George just yet. Just don't. Not yet.
I think I'll probably be able to bring it to the family conference coming up soon. I'll give it to you then. So please, I want you to let me hear your answer. If you accept my engagement proposal, I will proclaim right there to all the relatives, including grandfather, my engagement to you.
George-san.
I'm sure some people won't approve of our relationship, but there's no need to look at their faces, because you only have to fill your eyes with me. I would definitely make you happy. That, I promise you, definitely.
I look forward to seeing how it will ripen. The gold butterflies do not swoop upon the juice of overripe and rotting fruit. I cannot wait for the day of harvest to come. It's a time of the banquet here, yes! Would you like to keep moving? It's only been 4 hours. Can we go on to another hour?
Yeah, we can go off another hour.
Wonderful. Hey, the first day's here!
Of like the family meeting?
Yep.
Also, somebody just like slowly walked up to me and 14 gave me a hug and then walked away.
Lamau. Fucking Lamau. They'd eaten breakfast at a coffee shop in the station building. By chance, the inside of the shop had been decorated with Halloween covers, as it was October. As we were just praising me for not breaking her game. I know, it breaks all the time. It seemed that Maria had really taken a liking to that. Ever since, she had been making a fuss inside the train about wanting to have a Halloween festival, without caring that she was attracting the attention of others. Halloween is popular in Europe and America, but people are hardly familiar with it all in Japan. The shopping district was colorfully decorated with orange pumpkins. But the costume parades of children demanding sweets and saying trick-or-treat were nowhere in sight.
Yeah, I have a feeling like Halloween in general just isn't that popular in Japan.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's more of a Christian. Well, technically, it's more of a pagan, which turns into a Christian thing. So it's a little bit on the okay. That's a weird Western trait. Sure, we can.
Just like Christmas.
I like the candy. I like the costumes. The weird trick-or-treating thing. That's kind of fucking weird. I want a Halloween festival.
I am not gonna miss that.
I don't want to wear these clothes. I want to look like a witch. The family conference isn't for playing. We're going to meet grandfather, so you have to dress up nice. Well, it wasn't completely full inside the train. There were enough people in here that almost all of the seats were occupied. Among them, Maria was making a fuss, kicking her feet back and forth in her seat, while Rosa scowled at her. Rosa had told her many times in a low voice to stop, but Maria was taking no notice whatsoever. Once Maria gets this way, no matter how much you try to explain the situation or calm her, she doesn't listen. In the past, Rosa used to pamper Maria and give in to her at times like this. But that had probably been the problem. Almost certainly, the young Maria had formed the wrong impression that if she kept complaining noisily, her mother would give in and listen to her. That error had been brought to Rosa's attention through an educational book, and since then she had hardened her heart as to not pamper her beloved daughter. But Rosa could manage less and less mutual understanding with Maria, and it had become more and more common that she felt discouraged by her own powerlessness. Halloween! Halloween! Trick or treat! I'm not giving you any sweets! You just ate breakfast! Trick or treat! Trick or treat!
She's one of those kids, huh?
As Maria kicked her feet, a stout old woman sitting in the seat across from Maria picked candy out from her handbag and gave it to her. Got a treat! Got a treat! Look, Mama! Mama! Happy Halloween! Maria! You can't just accept sweets from strangers, remember? Return it! It's alright. Oh, she's a lovely young lady. How old
Are you
is
sure
she?
about this?
There may not have been any malice in those words from the old woman, but it seemed that Rosa had taken that in an extremely humiliating way. Maria! I'm always telling you to not accept sweets from strangers!
This one's mine! No, it's mine!
Let go of it! Don't I always tell you to listen to what Mama says?
It's mine! Mine!
I told you, stop making that childish whining noise! I'm not doing it. Rosa reflexively hit Maria violently on her cheek. In a flash, Maria started crying loudly. Rosa immediately snatched the candy from Maria's hand and stuck it out towards the dumbfounded old woman sitting next to them. Please, don't just give sweets to my daughter. I'm very sorry. Breathing heavily, Rosa once again held the candy out to the old woman. The woman looked confused for a moment about what she should say, but then understood that perhaps her actions may have caused trouble for this parent and child, and she accepted the candy back, apologizing.
Don't you start feeling bad now.
Then, Rosa finally took notice of her surroundings. Her daughter's clothes were all messed up. She was crying and shouting with her nose dripping. And there were many dumbfounded passengers watching. Except for the sound of the train running, the rail car was completely silent. Fortunately, that pitiful silence didn't last more than a short while. However, in its place came an even more painful atmosphere as everyone whispered. Maria shouted, cried, kicked, and stomped her feet as usual, paying no heed to the people sitting around her. Impulsively, Rosa tried to slap her again, but she noticed the cold eyes of the people on the train and couldn't do that anymore. When the train stopped, Rosa got off, forcibly pulling Maria by the arm and almost dragged her along the ground. As usual, Maria didn't stop crying. Rosa took her to the end of the platform and hit her cheek again. At the moment she was hit, Maria stopped crying for an instant, but before long she shouted and cried even more than before. Rosa, whose emotions had exploded, grabbed Maria by her collar and pulled her hair as if to rip it out.
Mama, it hurts! Mama, it hurts!
Can't you hear me? I'm telling you to shut up! That ooh of yours! I'm telling you to stop it! That's the reason you can't make friends in class! Don't you get it? Get a hold of yourself! Why are you always a kindergartner inside your head? Why can't you do as Mama says? Why? Why? Along with those severe words, Rosa hit Maria's head over and over again. The more Maria cried and shouted, the more Rosa hit her. Then the more Maria was hit, the more intensely she cried and shouted.
Mama, it hurts!
I can't. Now it's getting a little too close. A little too close, I'm sorry, I apologize. Why can't you just stop that whining? It's because you're like this that you can't make friends. It's because like this that Papa never comes back from his business trip. It's because you're like this that I... Excuse me, madam, is something the matter? Is there something that you want? The one who timidly called to her was the station attendant. Rosa glared at him with a look that said, "Don't cut into the problems of a mother and child, stranger." The station attendant surely hadn't wanted to talk to her. However, Rosa had been yelling at the platform for a much longer time than she had imagined. Her emotional scolding had caused the passengers on the platform to advise the station attendant that it would be a good idea to speak to her. Rosa yelled at the station attendant that they would get on the next train and not bother them anymore. Okay, this is before CPS, and mind you, this is Japan. This is not America. This is Japan where everyone's business is their own. You don't deal with... You don't touch anyone's business. If you see a child getting harmed by the mom, in America, you call that shit out, you take that child away from the mom, period, point blank. In Asian countries, and I speak for this as an Asian from like knowing Filipino culture and all that stuff, as well as that a lot of Asian cultures are very similar. And I will say this, I know a lot of minority cultures are very similar to this as well. If you see a mom backhanding their child, the child probably deserved it, which is a very shitty thing to say. A child does not deserve anything. But in the eyes of people who look on in those cultures, those people will think that, oh, that child deserved that backhanding. It's like, jokingly within minority cultures, and I myself have grown from this. I remember in Persona 5 Strikers that I made that whole, like, hey, you're acting like a brat, where's my chancla, and all that stuff. And people were like, Michaela, you can't just do that. It's been ingrained in my head that regardless of what you feel or what you do and all that stuff, some things do require more than just a scolding. Some things require more than that. That's always been my mindset. However, that is a generational racial thing where, and I'm going to pull this out, where white folk, they'll have their kids throw fucking fits in the middle of grocery aisles when they can't get their favorite cereal, and they'll like roll on the floor, grab the cart, scream, cry, holler, throw things off of the shelves, and all that stuff, throwing a fit. Things like that. But with minority cultures, with like Asians, Bryan, I don't know if you can attest to this or not, Hispanic culture, black culture, like anything that's non-white. If you act a fool in public and you get backhanded, it is understood, unfortunately, and I say this again, unfortunately, that you deserved getting backhanded. And that you need to stop. Because there's only so much that leaning in and whispering, we're going to talk about this when we get home, can do. There's only that limitation. And that's, again, with minority cultures. That is with anyone who is not white, because white people have established that you shouldn't hit people. And I that's the one credit to white people. They've established you shouldn't hit your fucking children. You should not hit your fucking children. And I think all of us are in agreement. You shouldn't hit your fucking children. I'm sorry. Children do not need to be... If you want to punish them, make sure that the punishment is actually productive towards what they're being punished for. If my kid has terrible grades and I ask them what's the problem and they said they just don't want to study because they don't feel like it and they're giving me attitude, it's not like a genuine problem. It is, well, I don't want to fucking do it because I want to play video games with all my friends. Okay, take the video games away. You don't get your games until you fix your grades. So that's a proper punishment. That is, if the grades are the distraction, then take away the games. The answer wouldn't be, okay, I'm gonna backhand you and all that stuff, whatever. Wow, wait, in what context does that soften the impact of the scene or just highlight? It highlights a societal problem. Because this is, mind you, this is 1986. This happening right here is 1986. This is during a time period before the concept that children should be protected. This was before the concept that you can go up to a stranger who's beating their child and be like, fucking stop. This was before that concept. And mind you, this is in Asia. This is in Japan, specifically. So this is in a culture where family problems are family problems. You do not step in to a family problem during this time period. Because if you step in during a family problem, 1, you're being rude. 2, you are trying to insert yourself into a situation you have no involvement in. And 3, you think that you're above the other person, and thus you are claiming that you are above that other person by stepping into the problem. When heroics like that are not seen as a good thing. Heroics like that are seen as a nuisance and as... what's the word? What's the word for vigilante? Yeah, vigilante justice. It's vigilante nuisances. It's what's considered a vigilante nuisance.
I was thinking more along the lines of like rubbernecking.
A little bit like that, yeah. So, I'm not saying this is a right scene. This is absolutely not a right scene at all. But the reason why the scene comes up in such a way is because back then, and because I know people were gonna, like, that's why I made that note during the great recap, saying like, hey, It's not cool to let abusers continue abusing people. Stop abusers. Period. But back then, I would have been considered the worst person in the world for stepping into a family problem that wasn't my own. I would have been like ostracized myself. I'd be like, basically they would be like, what the fuck is your problem? Why are you butting into my conversations? Why are you here? What business do you have? Are you trying to steal money from me? Are you trying to make my life a living hell? I'll make your life a living hell. Things like that. And then back then, there was no courage to fight back against that. Nowadays, abusers can say that all they fucking want, and the rest of us who are smart people will be like, no, fuck you, and your mama, and your papa, for bringing you up like this. I'm reporting you to CPS. Things like that. But yeah, there is a big societal problem with how we treat children. And I think it's a lot of minority culture, but at the same time, I will say this. This is not in defense of how minority families treat their children. This is more of criticizing how white families treat their children. Or how some people who claim to be gentle parents are not parents at all. If you allow your child to continue to be socially disruptive, to where it is becoming a problem, a physical, visual problem, where they're screaming, crying, throwing things from shelves, causing general destruction, being a public nuisance, then there is a problem that you have to solve immediately. It can't just be, oh, they're just 6 years old, they'll grow out of it. No.
Yeah, see, like at that point, if they don't do anything, I don't even call that gentle parenting. That's just being negligent. Because, you know, gentle parenting, you would at least be more firm with your kids. Not like, you know, shouting at them or smacking them, but just be like, hey, cut that out.
It's like, we're not doing that.
Like, you see what, you know, what kind of disturbance you're making, not just for me, but for everyone else around you. Things like that.
Yeah.
If you're just gonna let them, if you're just gonna be like, oh, they're just kids, they'll be, you know, tire themselves out. No, that's not gentle parenting. You're just being a bitch.
Yeah. So, yeah, this scene is odd, and it does get personal with me, because it's like, I've had that, not pink-colored glasses, but more so of just that mentality of, I've seen families let their kids be distractive and disrespectful like that, and my instinct reaction is, if I would have done that, my ass would have gotten beat. My ass would have had a wooden spoon across my ass cheeks.
Oh, I've been beat before.
Yeah, it's the same here. And not like in a severe, I've had bruises and I've had to hide things shit. Like, no, it's like a spank across the ass, my arm getting pulled. It was one of those things where it's like, stop, relax. And I can claim to be better for it. I can claim all I want to be better for it, but there is the blindness that, because of that, I can look back and say, there was a better way to handle it.
Anyone that says that they were beat as a kid and turned out fine, you in fact did not turn out fine.
Yeah, so there is a type of development that comes around with being beaten or being abused as a kid and learning that it could have been handled better. I am a better person for it. I'm not a disruptive little shit. According to my parents and everyone who knew me, I was the most polite motherfucker in public.
Now it just, you know, comes at the cost of you being introverted.
Yeah, so I was just kind of like, Meh. But yeah, so I was like, regardless. There's different types of parenting, and sadly neglect is one, and that's really starting. Okay, I've been ranting. We need to move on, because I only have a limited time, because Bryan only gave me a limited time, so I have a limited time to do this. Alright, so we gotta keep moving. Then finally, or maybe we should say for the second time, she noticed the passengers on the platform staring at her from a distance. Rosa sweated slightly. She felt the wind chill, the sweat tormenting her. Mario was still crying, shielding her own head. No, unless this beating stopped, she would probably keep crying forever. I've done it again. As Rosa recovered from the evil heat inside her head, she knew she had surrendered her soul to something bad again.
Mama! Mama! Mama, come back!
Rosa fell to her knees and hugged Maria, whose face was all soggy with tears and mucus. Nadia, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mama! Mama! Welcome back! Welcome back!
Finally, Maria realized that her mother had turned back to being her mother. Then she clung to her mother's body and cried, burying her face in her mother's chest. Forgive your bad mama. Forgive your bad mama. I'm so sorry. Please don't hate your mama.
I'm perfectly fine. Won't hate Mama. Mama was just being possessed by an evil witch again. But Mama came back, so it's okay.
Yeah. Mama was being possessed by an evil witch again. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
And that witch's name is called anger management.
Yep. No, it's also called trauma. For a long time, the two of them hugged each other, asking for forgiveness and sending words of forgiveness back. Generational trauma, ain't that fun? Because guess who also beats their children? After a while, the two of them gradually calmed down and naturally drew their faces apart. Maria's face, Rosa's face, both were deeply red after crying their eyes out. Do you want to have a Halloween festival, Maria?
Yeah. I wanted to show the pumpkin marshmallow to George Oni-chan and Jessica One-san, Nikita One-chan.
That was a sweet which had been alongside the cash register at the shop where they had eaten breakfast. It was a fancy sweet that had a big orange marshmallow in the shape of a jack-o'-lantern stuck on the end of a stick. Maria had wanted that and had insistently pestered for it. Rosa had disallowed it, saying that there were no way she would buy such a sweet right after they had breakfast. Okay then, Maria. I don't know if they sell those in this town or not, but let's get off and try searching for one, okay?
Yeah! Love you, Mama! Love you so much! Thank you!
I love you too, Maria. The truth was that they had no time to waste loitering around at a stopover station. If they missed the airplane, they would fall half a day behind schedule. She should have left home with more time to spare, but she ended up leaving late after spending too long choosing Maria's clothes. Because of that, Rosa had been impatient since the morning. She looked at the clock. They should be getting on the next train immediately. But her daughter had firmly joined hands with her to go buy the sweet together. And that hand was warm. To Rosa right now, it was more important to regrow her bonds with Maria. Maria was not only Rosa's beloved daughter, she was everything Rosa had. Fortunately, she could see that there was a big supermarket right in front of the station. Maybe she wouldn't be able to find a sweet exactly like that one, but Maria would probably accept something similar. Besides, Rosa couldn't show up with a face swelled from crying.
From crying?
Crying. She would have to fix her makeup. We might not find a marshmallow exactly like that one, but I hope we can find a sweet that's similar. And let's surprise all your cousins with it.
Yeah. If it's a sweet I bought together with Mama, anything is fine.
The two left the turnstiles of the station into this unknown town. Maria walked along the pedestrian crossing with her mother, feeling very pleased as though she was walking in an amusement park. Both faces were still deep red, but warmth could be seen between the two of them, mother and child, as they smiled at each other awkwardly.
And that's where they showed up late?
Yep. Dear, what are you doing in a place like this?
Oh, it's you. It's nothing. It's just that this was a pleasant place to think.
I have finished all the preparations for today. For now, shall we relax and wait while drinking some tea?
Sorry. I'm always pushing all my problems on you.
Please. Can't you rely on me more? I am your wife.
Naturally, I'm grateful for you always coming to my aid. For that very reason, I am able to devote myself to my work.
I understand that. About your work and the topic of father's inheritance, right?
That has nothing to do with you. It's nothing more than my greedy siblings scavenging for rotten meat.
It's alright, dear. Everything will work out. Your work has never once turned out badly. Nazi softly cuddled close to Krause's shoulder. She spoke words to reward Kraus for the difficulties of his work, but Nazi was herself the one who knew best that it wasn't going well. Kraus's enterprises were something like a seesaw where large amounts of money swung. A big investment leads to a large return, but the swaying of a large-scale seesaw is large yet sluggish, and not something which shows immediate results. At times, he would make more investments so that the seesaw inclined faster towards the good side. Naturally, he did that because he had the confidence that, in a not-so-distant future, he would be able to recover all the investments made. However, the seesaws Kraus chose never turned out as he would have liked them to. His foresight wasn't wrong, but times were slow. They never caught up with him. For example, think of a literal seesaw placed in a park. Due to its great popularity, there was always someone playing on it, so if he wanted to play, he would have to wait a long time for his turn. And then one day he found that seesaw vacant, straddling it, and realizing he was the first to arrive and had it all to himself. However, nobody got on the opposite side of the seesaw, so he couldn't play on it. And no matter how much time passed, no one came to the opposite side of the seesaw. The seesaw was a popular piece of playground equipment, so if you waited, another person would definitely show up. Kraus noticed. The weather looked like it was getting worse. That's why no one was coming outside to play. But the seesaw is a popular piece of playground equipment, so someone would definitely come. If he vacated his place because the weather seemed getting worse, someone would definitely snatch his place away. And he would end up only longingly gazing from a distance as someone else having fun playing on the seesaw again. On one side of the seesaw, he continued to wait, patiently, all alone. That was Kraus's current enterprise and situation.
If only I had a bit more courage and the self-confidence to believe in my own foresight, I'd never once have failed.
Yes, that's true. Your foresight is never wrong. You're the only one who inherited father's gift. You inherited an innate disposition that none of the other siblings did.
Yes, I wasn't able to believe in it. I always closed my own projects like a coward. Why can't I trust myself? Who would trust a man who can't trust himself? Nobody. I'm always sitting myself down on the seats where the losers must sit. My father, my mother, and my siblings, all of them sneer at me. How long before I am set free of this complex? How long?
Only Natsuhi knew. She knew of Kraus's anguish. As the eldest son of the Ushirimiya family who would have had to shoulder a big responsibility, he couldn't open his pained heart to anyone. It would always be compared to his father's great enterprises. I have finished all the preparations, so you can devote yourself to the family conference. All of them.
Sorry. Will there be any problems with father?
No. Genji and Dr. Nanjo are on our side. I'll never allow those greedy siblings to meet father.
Hello, go to here. Yes, please, leave it to me. I'm anxious to put my skills to work for the big annual job.
Ingredients of varied colors had been gathered in the kitchen, and the preliminary arrangements had already been started. Even though it was still morning, the ingredients for dinner were already in saucepans and steaming. Normally, he had to deal with several assorted matters other than cooking, but on the day of the family conference, he could devote himself to it entirely. To Goda, who was originally a chef, this was surely a greatest gala occasion of the year.
Yes, dinner will be an excellent calf steak. A wonderful cut of meat is already in the refrigerator, anxiously waiting for tonight. Please let the other servants know to look forward to tonight. I will not disappoint them either.
It was rare for Goda to be in this good of a mood towards his fellow servants. To Goda, who boasted about being a chef who worked exclusively for the Ushiremiya family, being given the right to show off his cooking at the family conference was the greatest honor. Okay, I'm leaving it in your hands. Also, is Kumasawa there?
Kumasawa-san? I happened to see her earlier, but she is not here. I wonder if she went to make preparations at the guest house.
So she's loafing around again. No, that's fine. Alright then, I'm counting on you.
Yes, leave everything to me.
Genji placed the telephone back on the receiver, sighing lightly. Thinking of Kumasawa, who was no doubt hiding and slacking off even though things were this busy, and the ostentatious Goda, who only felt like doing anything on a day when he could show off, Genji sighed once again.
Excuse me. All the rooms in the guest house have been prepared.
We receive instructions from Milady to make preparations for 4 people so that the children can stay there. What should we do? I heard Battler-sama is coming this year for the first time in 6 years. I guess Milady wants to stay up late with the other 3 cousins. Get them ready. No need to tell Madam.
I see. Certainly.
So tonight, we'll have the late night shift followed immediately by the morning shift tomorrow. It looks like these 2 days will be tiresome.
Speaking of that, the weather forecast is saying a typhoon will strike right over here. Will that be alright?
Unless the typhoon diverts greatly, it may affect the family's boat trip back, depending on circumstances. The family conference schedule may drag on until about Monday or Tuesday. It'll probably be a long haul, but I ask you both to be careful not to make any blunders. Shannon, relax and don't panic. Canon, be sure to greet them with courtesy.
Yes! I'll be careful.
I'll be careful. Today we'll be entertaining a very important guest. Make extra sure that everything goes smoothly. I understand fully. Any guest who visits here is important. Canon, we welcome today an important guest in the truest sense. Make sure you're prepared. Yes. Shannon, what's wrong? You've been looking restless. Did you promise to be somewhere?
Oh! No, it's nothing. My apologies.
Ne-san, an important guest will be arriving today. Detach yourself from your private life.
I don't know what you mean by private life.
As Shannon blushed just a bit, turned her gaze away from the clock. Was it about time for the airplane carrying the family to arrive in Nijima? She had thought that she had been hiding the fact that her long-awaited reunion with George was making her heart palpitate. The Canon, who stood at her side, understood her perfectly. Oh hey, the beginning of the game!
Why don't this seem familiar? Shannon, please accept this from me without a word.
Inside a bathroom stall, George was practicing something over and over, taking out a small velvet box hidden in his pocket like a quick-draw desert gunman.
That's not it. Shannon likes a man with traction. It must have a more powerful feel to it. Shannon, put this on your ring finger. That's an order, okay? If I don't say properly that it's on the left hand, maybe we should put it on the right hand. No, Shannon isn't that ignorant. But if there's no free will, that'd be a little... I mean...
I have a question for you, Bryan. How nervous were you when you were thinking about proposing to me? Was it like this?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Y'all can't see that I'm looking at his face and he's just going shifty-eyed. As he crossed his arms, moaning and groaning, someone knocked on the door. George was startled back to reality.
Oh, there goes gravity. Hey, George-kun. You alright? Got a stomachache or something? Aha, Uncle Rudolph. It's alright. I'm fine. No need to worry. You sure? Okay then. Don't strain too much. Your ass will burst.
Like Elvis. Isn't that how you reacted when he proposed to you? I fucking cried. I cried. Legitimately.
Yeah, it's almost like we have a video of that or something.
Yeah, we do. Rudolph washed his hands, laughing cheerfully, and left. George knew that the most embarrassing part hadn't been overheard, and he patted his chest in relief.
Kitty, isn't Rosa here yet?
Not yet. She's pretty late.
It's a good thing the weather's delaying our flight. If the schedule had been like normal, she'd have missed the plane by now. Sorry, one sec. What would she have done then?
Rosa-san is an adult now. She'd manage it somehow. No matter how old they get, older brothers always treat their younger sisters like children.
Dad's always a kid, no matter how old he gets. What'd you say? If I'm a kid, that make you a baby. Come on, Bella-chan, up you go. Stop, that tickles! Stop!
You two look more like a couple of naughty kids than a father and son.
I mean, you wouldn't really tell they'd be related with the hair color and eye color and shit.
Right? Look, she's here. Rudolph was applying makeup in the bathroom. Rudolph canonically wears makeup.
I didn't know that.
Now you do.
Oh ho! If it isn't Rosa saying.
Fuck you!
You should have never told me that he had a southern accent.
Moving on.
Maria-chan, long time no see.
Long time no see!
Maria! Shouldn't that be "It's good to see you again"? Greet your uncle properly.
It's good to see you again.
There you go. Well said. How about some candy as a reward? Oh, where'd I put him?
Rosa-san, it's good to see you again. It's good to see you too, Maria-chan. It's been too long, Kirie-san. Hideyoshi-san. Oh my, Battler-kun? Look how big you've gotten!
Oh, come on. It's embarrassing hearing that from every person I meet. Hey, Rosa. You're late. If the plane was on time, you'd have barely made it.
I'm sorry. We had some trouble making our train connection. So we're waiting on the weather yet again? Oh, don't complain. I much prefer the 30-minute plane trip to spending 6 hours bouncing about on a boat. Even if we were kept waiting here for an hour, it's so much faster overall.
Is that Maria? She sure has gotten big. She's at that growing age.
You last met her 6 years ago? Of course she'd change. Women are creatures who can be born anew in a single day, and all it takes is a change of heart. Maria noticed a big man she didn't remember mixed along with the relatives and hid behind Rosa's back, glaring at Battler.
Hey, Battler, say hi. The last time we met her, she was just 3 years old, so this might as well be the first time. Yeah, I guess she would have remembered if she was 3. Hey, Maria, long time no see. You sure have gotten big.
Maria, this is Battler Oni-chan. Uncle Rudolph's son. Understand?
Uncle's the son. Huh? Ah!
She was obviously on her guard. She must have found it frightening for a large guy like Battler to suddenly start speaking frankly to her. Battler noticed that as well and thought of various ways he might approach her. Then he noticed the sweet she had in her hand. It was a jack-o'-lantern sweet that Rosa had bought for her.
Oh, right. It's October. So that must be for Halloween. Hee trick or treat.
If you try and take a treat away from a small child, normally you'd expect them to cry and start a fuss. The adults thought that the method wasn't good, but surprisingly, Maria looked pleased, her face splitting into a wide grin.
Halloween! Halloween! See, Mama Battler knows about Halloween too! See?
Hey, call him Battler Oni-chan. Sorry, Battler.
No, I don't care. Call me Battler. And I'll call you Maria too. Come on, Maria. It's Halloween. Trick or treat.
Trick or treat!
From inside her handbag, Maria picked out a jack-o'-lantern sweet identical to the one she had in her hand and presented it to Battler. It seemed like Battler accepting it was enough to confirm their friendship. The adults felt admiration at how her children have their own ways of communicating. Why is Maria wearing a crown? It looks cute. To Maria, who had been complaining that she wanted to have a Halloween festival, it must have felt like Battler was a friend, since he knew about trick-or-treat. Her defensive posture from before was completely gone. Now she was all merry as though they had been friends for decades.
Yeah, Halloween is a minor event in Japan, isn't it? You often see people parading around in costume on the news over there, but I never seen it in Japan.
I wanted to wear a costume too. Wanted to do trick or treat with all the cousins wearing costumes.
Yeah, I bet you did. Let's us two do it together sometime. What would you want to go around as?
A witch! Beatrice!
Oh, milady, what are you doing in such a place? Madame was looking for you. I'm here because I don't want to be found. I bet she only wants to nag at me anyway, all that crap like, is your appearance alright and mind how you speak? Oh, without a doubt. You know, when the day of the family conference comes, for some reason, I start getting weird feelings about this witch. Oh? Why ever would you say that? The family conference is a day when everyone related to grandfather gathers. Like, I hear Battler's coming in for the first time in 6 years this year. Same kind of thing. I always wonder whether some relative who hasn't shown themselves for several decades might suddenly turn up. Oh, could a relative like that really exist? I'm talking about that Beatrice-sama. Nobody knows her background. Could she be grandfather's mistress from long ago? Maybe one of her descendants will suddenly show up and tell us to give back the gold we were granted or something, you know? Kraus-sama and the others will probably have a discussion about the problem of the master's inheritance this year too. With such excitement abound over talk of the witch's gold, I don't suppose it would be strange if all of the witch herself who granted that gold finally made her appearance. Kumasawa-san, you know. Sure, you're always quitting one moment and working the next, but you've been here as long as Genji-san, right? You know more about Beatrice, don't you? Well, I wonder. Even if I try to remember, this old woman here can't even recall what she had for breakfast this morning. Kumasawa, you're always escaping with those excuses, but you know something, right? Sometimes I feel kind of devious atmosphere about you, like you know something and you're laughing behind our backs. Oh, how harsh. I don't have any secrets. The only thing I can say is that Beatrice-sama is the Golden Witch, and that she is the other master who controls the night of this island. That's second-hand talk from grandfather. Even though you get paid, it must be a pain to go along with the grandfather's tales. But I can say this much. What? In ancient times, Rokkenjima was feared and called Azuki-jima, Azuki Bean Island. The story among the fishermen is that Azuki was a mispronounced form of Akujiki, and in fact, it was called Akujiki-jima, Evil Appetite Island. I've heard this before. That's the story about how, because of all of the sunken rocks and shipwrecks around here, the fishermen got afraid and stayed away as much as they could, right? Evil spirits had settled down in Akujiki-jima, devouring human souls from time immemorial. There were all too many people who got involved with this island and were too dispossessed of their lives. And it all settled down when a traveling mountain Aztec or something built that shrine and laid those souls to rest, right? What a shady story. They say that shrine was destroyed by an eerily violent thunderbolt this summer, which tore through the darkness of the night. Kumasawa-san, you really like those stories, don't you? Sure, it'd be pretty creepy if a thunderbolt wiped out the shrine to keeping the dead at peace. But, well, it was all worn out from the start. I bet it got carried away by some large wave. The evil spirits of Akujiki-jima woke up from their sleep and summoned Beatrice-sama. So if Beatrice-sama ever happened to come for the family conference, then Kumasawa kept silent for a moment there. Jessica, who wanted her to keep going, found that silence very eerie. Once Kumasawa was satisfied that she had spooked Jessica just the right amount, she grinned broadly. Well now, I wonder what would happen.
Whoa, that sounds wonderful.
It does, doesn't it? Isn't it useful for your work to enrich your heart and have an elegant time every once in a while?
I think so. The heart and the wallet must be rich. Got it? I'll keep that day open. Please make the reservations.
Will do. No backing out.
Yeah, let's make that happen. I love you, Kitty.
After kissing the receiver, Rudolph hung up. In front of his seat, there were many executives with their sleeves rolled up, eagerly awaiting the end of that phone call.
Sorry about the wait. Have we had contact from America?
Yes. It's from our lawyer, Dale Watanabe, on the external line. I'll transfer it.
Overall, how do you feel about the situation?
Well, I'm afraid it seems it is not all that favorable. It seems they have no plans of withdrawing from the trial.
Looks like we can't fool them after all. Please, transfer it here.
Very well. Right away. The executive ordered the secretarial office to connect him to the external line. Immediately, the telephone in front of Rudolph started ringing.
Hello? Hello? Apologies for the wait. Ushiromiya speaking. Good day. How is it going over there?
Hello, President Ushiromiya. Let's skip the greetings and get right down to business. I have good news and bad news. Which one shall we start with?
The bad news can go first. I can't fight if there's no dessert.
Very well. The bad news is that they have started preparing to prosecute us. Just a few days ago, the verdict was handed down in a similar trial overwhelmingly in favor of the plaintiff. The defendants were also making roughly the same arguments as us, but they were rejected in everything. I'm afraid to say it, but if we face the courtroom as we are now, the probability that our argument will be rejected is extremely high.
So that other trial was a disaster. And I was thinking their conditions were more favorable than ours. That's tough. Then what about the good news?
I managed to get in contact with their executives. I explained our situation to them, explained that we have no intention of tarnishing their brand image, and I managed to get their understanding. They will offer us conditions in a few days, and if these are carried out, they promise to withdraw from the prosecution. This comes straight from the number 2 man on their board of directors.
Your impression?
Honestly, I expect the conditions will be extremely severe. I would assume that changing the company name and brand name will be inevitable. Where we do have a margin in negotiations is the amount of settlement money, and the appearance of a public apology in a major newspaper, and the amount of time needed to carry out those things.
Why don't they just come straight out with it and tell us to go bankrupt?
They changed to their second president only a couple of years ago, and the new president doesn't have a firm foothold in the position yet. If we resist until the bitter end, they fear that the forces who want to go against the current president won't hesitate to do some work in favor of the enemy. Hence, it seems the big shots over there want to settle this matter as fast as possible, too. Therefore, for the sake of this quick settlement, we may still have enough leeway to pull from some mitigation of the conditions.
At any rate, an absurd amount of money will be necessary, I guess.
You need to be prepared for that, and even so, I believe it will be much cheaper than disciplinary compensation.
Thank you very much. If there's any more progress, please contact me. You bet highly, so I can't even chat idly with you. Thank you, goodbye.
Rudolph hung up the phone. It seemed that the executive sitting in the reception room seats could guess what had said.
You get all that, your reprobates? Well, to sum it up, if we can pay them off, they're gonna let it slide. All I have to do now is turn the focus on how much.
But, President, the sum that Mr. Watanabe estimated for the settlement is too much. We don't have that much kind of margin.
If we'd have known this was gonna happen, we should have never have started diversifying.
The calculations that we would escape the capital crisis if we were able to endure it for 3 years. To be stabbed at this juncture is just incredibly unfortunate.
I guess we tripped and fell at the step of the hop, step, and jump. I could cry.
We have no choice but to draw the money from the main bank.
Banks are no good. They only bet their money on winning horses. The situation is getting better, but we can't show weakness to the banks.
President, do you have any funds which are unaccounted for? Funds that we aren't aware of?
Stop that. Do I look like that kind of man? The counters on my wallet are all exposed to you guys, right? The account books over there show all that our company has.
In that case, we need to raise money. We need a sponsor who can draw in several $1 million for us as soon as possible. President, couldn't something be worked out with one of your associates? President!
Calm down, you bastards. I'll find a way to raise the money. You guys just maintain the business and try not to fall to pieces. They're saying they'll forgive us so long as we hand over the money. We already have thick pipelines in Asia. This will probably have consequences all over the place. But we can still maintain our deals. The point is, this is a problem that can be entirely resolved just by handing over money. Just watch. I'll settle everything. I won't let you out in the cold. Start feeling like you're in good hands. When this is all over, I'll be rewarding all of you guys with a champagne tower. I promise. So just shut up and follow me, alright?
The airplane suddenly shook, probably because of turbulence. That shaking around roused Rudolph from his sleep. He had woken up really early that morning and had ended up drifting off to sleep while resting in his seat. Are you alright? You're still very drowsy, aren't you? You've been so busy with work lately.
It's a damn good thing I am busy with work. If I suddenly find myself with nothing to do, we'll all be out in the cold starting the next day.
You're right. Battler-kun's coming back now, but I'm afraid we can't go around begging if things get rough.
Yeah, we finally got our whole family back after 6 years. The man of the house is gonna have to give his best so we can all spend more family time together.
When he looked outside the window, he saw that the airplane was already starting to drop in altitude considerably. The fishing boats, which only looked like black grains until a short while ago, had become clearly visible.
If I could prostrate myself before Dad and borrow 10 mil in exchange for a punch to the head, I'd at least take a dozen. But, failing that, you better hurry up and give with the ghost. Whatever that means.
It means die.
I mooched off him so much over the years, and now I'm going for the inheritance. I'm going to hell. It won't surprise me a bit if he doesn't want to see me.
Could it be that you don't plan on appearing at the family conference this year either? Nanjo looked at Kinzo's face, sighing. Kinzo's eyes remained rooted at those strange magic books.
I have no intention of joining those wolfches in their discussion. They can discuss how they will suck my bones as they wish. They're not worth a moment of my time.
My. How troublesome. Nanjo shook his head slightly. To him, children and grandchildren were to be adored, and he believed that their growth was the only enjoyment for old men. He found Kinzo's words to be a very sad thing.
If the time comes when I must leave this room, I will show myself then, just as that one does show itself.
Kinzo raised his face, and in the direction of his gaze was the portrait of the witch, respectfully displayed on the wall. Inside Kinzo's head, there was no conception of today being the day of the family conference, the day when all his dear family would gather together. There was only the face of the witch in the oil painting, who never smiled outside her portrait. Everyone knew that when Kinzo talked about Beatrice, unnecessarily cutting in would instigate his wrath.
Today, I will perform a certain ritual.
Oh. And what would that be? Oh. And what would that be?
It would be more accurate to call it a gamble. After all, no miracles dwell in magic without risk. Oh, very well.
Nanjo had already heard this countless times. You could call it Kinzo's favorite phrase, other than Beatrice! It seemed that Kinzo believed in magic and miracles arising from betting his own fate with a certain kind of risky probability in beating the odds. Kinzo-san, you may once have been called the Golden Gambler, but I cannot imagine what kind of gamble you will take on with that aged body when you could go to the other world at any time. I guess this will be worth seeing.
I see. So if we're up to you, unversed in magic, hearing the secret ritual I have thoroughly researched would be branded as a gamble. So be it. If it is I, a believer in miracles, who wins, you will be able to understand clearly that all my research, which probably only appears as vagary, in your eyes, did bear fruit on this day. If you win, it will all end as, just as you observed, nothing more than the vagary of an old man who could go to the other world at any time.
Oh? I wonder what on earth this gamble you will start. As your friend, I only pray that you will come out of that bet. Was it a ritual? I only pray from the bottom of my heart that you can come out from that ritual victorious.
I thank you.
Speaking of that, Kinzo-san, I heard that a long-awaited guest will be present at the family conference this year.
What?
Kinzo reacted in an unusual way to Nanjo's words and turned around. You know Battle-kun from Rudolph-san's family? I heard he will be coming for the first time in 6 years. I'm sure he has become a splendid boy.
Oh, Battler. I wouldn't describe a guest who has been away a scant 6 years as long awaited.
Upon hearing Battler's name, he showed an ill-humored expression, as though he had been let down, and returned his back to Nanjo again. I guess these 6 years went by in a blink of an eye to you, since Duncan, your research in this room.
Perhaps a truly long-awaited guest will pay us a visit. Everything depends on the results of the roulette. The roulette has already started to revolve. Rouge or noir? Tonight, let us enjoy ourselves as we see what kind of miracle the roulette will show us. The payoffs are large, and I don't feel like losing. Beatrice, you shall accept my bet. And she's probably like standing right behind him, like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Just then, the telephone on the table rang. That piercing noise seemed to displease Kinzo, and he picked up the receiver in order to preserve the silence as much as he could.
What is it? I'm busy.
It is Genji. The family has arrived.
And what does that have to do with me? You could serve them some tea or something.
Certainly. I will see to it. Kinzo hung up the phone rudely. Watching him, Nanjo sighed yet again and shifted his attention outside the window. As he was now, Kinzo would probably show no interest in any sign of guest. Was there any guest who could make Kinzo agree to come out when he should? He had one person in mind, but that guest was one who could not possibly appear. After a glance at the witch in the portrait and her candid expression, which he could not place as happy or sad, Nanjo gazed up at the leaden sky.
What?
It's game time. Now then, are all the pieces all lined up?
I guess.
Let us start a new game with all the pieces all lined up once more. Are there any problems?
Nope.
The witch looked at him in challenge while elegantly smoking her pipe. And Battler? He just slovenly shrugged his shoulders as though she wasn't worth his time. He wouldn't look her in the eyes. But that didn't mean he wasn't going to play. It signified his plain determination to never be taken in by the artifices of this being he faced. It was an expression of his powerful determination to fight. Don't tell me you don't have a plan!
I don't know how you're going to play it, so no, I don't have any plan. Feel free to take the first move.
Naturally, I intend to! In what way shall I destroy your defense? In how many moves will I checkmate you? That is how I will display my skills.
Whatever moves you come at me with, I'll never believe in you. As long as I stand my ground on that one point, I won't lose. And what that means is this. The way this game is made, you cannot win.
Maybe you're right. However, I shall decide how many times we'll repeat this game. It will be repeated over and over again until I win and you admit defeat.
And so, I'm pretty sure this might not be a spoiler, but how many times are we going to be doing this? Like, how many times are we going to be playing this game, quote unquote?
Holding, I need to count in my head. No one say anything! So, now that this game starts.
Okay, better question. Will it be once per chapter, or will it be...
Once per chapter.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Expect 3. From Beatrice.
Yeah, like, that's what I was kind of expecting. Would it be like once per chapter?
Yeah. In other words, this is torment. Eternal torment that will continue until you surrender to me. Continuing eternally until you acknowledge me and the existence of witches.
In that case, I'll go along with you endlessly, any number of times until you run out of patience. I've never lost in such a battle of wills.
Did some witch or other suggest that to you? That's just fine.
I'm tired of listening to your rambling. Come on, get this started.
Come, let us begin. I already know of your moves far too well. A defense doesn't amount to much if the plan behind it is known. Don't think you'll be able to defy me with the same moves.
Beatrice, I only have one thing to tell you before we start.
What is it?
You're free to say anything, but when it comes to whether I believe or not, that is always for me to decide. No matter how great your magic is, my soul won't yield to you. You think this would be torture for me? You're wrong.
Yeah, that is fair. Battle is Japanese via Ace Jotaro. Then, what would you call it?
This is torture for you. Someday you will yield to me and give up. Until then, you'll be tortured over and over again.
How amusing! A fine metaphor. Torture where we torment each other. How truly amusing! Come, we shall begin that torture. You shoot me a battler! Okay, we are at the 5-hour mark. And the game has officially started.